Hello, my friends. How are you? Happy Monday. I am so excited to be here chit-chatting with you again. And I first have to say this, woohoo, props to me. I always tell my kids, I'm constantly telling them, they have grown up on social media, right? So TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook is for the oldies like me, but whatever it is, Twitch, Twitter, X, all of these things. And I've always told them, I don't care if you are on these things. I think it's great to really immerse yourself on what's new and upcoming, but I always encourage them to be contributors and not just consumers. So when I see them for hours and hours sitting on TikTok, and we've all done it, I may not be on TikTok, I may be on Facebook Reels or whatever other thing, YouTube Shorts, whatever it is, I've been there too, guilty as charged. I remember finally one day I was like, I'm just going to put this TikTok on and see what it is that they're on. I don't think I slept for 24 hours. I was from the weirdest videos you've ever seen in your life, crying, laughing, to recipes, to self-help. I mean, it was just a full journey as this algorithm was trying to figure me out. But it was definitely something that was oh no, you, my friend, needs to go, because my personality is a little too addictive and I just don't have the self-control. And if I get on here for 1 minute, it's going to be 1 hour and I just don't have an hour to spare. So, I have it now back on there, but I use it very selectively because, again, sometimes that self-control just goes right out the window. So, I always encourage them to, be contributors. They're just fascinating people. And I know they're my kids, so of course they're fascinating to me. But each one of them has already had to face and overcome such dramatic situations that average people luckily don't have to endure, and they have and come out so remarkably well. And I feel there's so many stories there for, especially they can relate to the teenage population or the young 20-year-old adult population. And but I get it, it's really hard. And so they'll always counter back because they know me, and they're like, well, what about you, Mom? Where's your thing? Where is your contribution? And I'm like, I know, I'm working on it. Someday, one day, I'll get there, and I will. And that's been years. And so finally, okay, I know we're only halfway there because all they've done is videoing, but it's something. That's my whole point, is if we all just do just a little something, and this may be just a video diary from me to you, but it's something. I am one step closer today to my dreams of contacting you, reaching you, connecting with you, and hopefully just giving my little nugget of things that can help make this world a better place and help just even one person feel what they're experiencing, they're not alone, and that they are capable of doing really amazing things. And the change is with them, all of it, the happiness we seek, it's within us, the change we want, it's within us. And it's just, we have to figure that out. And it takes some time. Some of us can maybe do it when you're 14 or 4 or 45 and whatever, 65, it doesn't matter. The point that matters is that you start becoming more conscious and aware of your life, and know that you have way more power than we think we do. And we have the power for good, but we also have the power for harm. And so this morning when I woke up, I was awoken by the sound of the rain. And again, California girl, I don't get to hear a lot of rain. And just some storms, they could be a drizzle and you don't hear them. And some can be kind of violent. But this one was just that Goldilocks, middle part of the rain where it was just beautiful. And I flung my curtains open and I was just yes, this is the perfect Monday morning. This is exactly what I need. And I have my, bed that's way too high up in the sky. I'm, closer to God this way. But from my bed, I can just look out and see the rain, and I could see it hitting the hillside, and I could see it hitting the trees. And I just was like, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this. I'm going to lay here. I'm going to feel my warm fuzzy blanket on me. And I'm just going to really just kind of appreciate and be in this moment. And so I was just letting whatever thoughts come in and whatever thoughts come out, whatever thoughts, like there wasn't any deliberation of the thoughts, or wasn't any like anything on my mind. It was just really just enjoying that moment. And suddenly it occurred to me, like, why is it I have this compulsion? Like, why am I so against like being abused? Like, in my words, it's, like what is it? Like, where is this suddenly coming from? Like, okay, yes, who likes to be abused? Nobody. But when I started to dawn on me, and then like immediately after it was like coming to me, I was like, oh, I got to write about this. Like this is it. This is the like thought of the day. But like, and what had occurred to me was like, I have been so cruelly abusive to myself for as long as I can remember, until these last couple years. And really, like, it has taken like a tremendous amount of work to undo this default setting. So I love to refer to this, like I tell my kids, so I'm right-handed. And in my process of this like evolution journey for me, I had to like have like, I'm a kind of a visual person, or I need a story, or I need something like to make it connect. Like sometimes the words are just not enough. But like when I have that visual, so it's like I'm using my right hand, right? And it's my default. I pick up the pen, I don't think about it, and I can write. But on occasion, maybe there's something wrong with my right hand, or there's something in my right hand. I've had times when the kids were asleep and they were asleep on my right hand, and now all I was left was with my left. And I needed to write something, a phone number, something down. And so you go to write your left hand, and it's really hard, and you have to like really think about it, and it looks like crap. And you've tried so much harder than you would have with your right hand, but yet your result is so inferior. And so what I said in this process is my goal is to become ambidextrous. So I want to be able to use both hands as needed, on demand, with just as much comfort. So when I have a habit that is bad, like a default setting of mine, programming that isn't like being abusive to myself, like looking in the mirror and saying, terrible things about, anything you trolls can think of. Like, I've already said 10,000 times worse to myself, and I bet you have said those things to yourself too, or you wouldn't be feeling the impulsion to say this to somebody else. And if you were feeling like a good and happy and fulfilled person. So like the amount of trolling I have done on myself is like absolutely cruel. It's horrible. And, like sometimes because I'm in this habit of trolling, right? I'm sure I've done mean things and said mean things about other people. I'm not sure. Like, I know I have. And if I say something like mean about somebody or mean to somebody, like immediately I feel this like remorse. I feel this like pit in my stomach, because it is not matching who I am. It is not like a part of my identity. It is not this is not who I am. And so there's an immediate conflict, but I had no problem whatsoever all these years ripping myself to shreds over the stupidest thing, over any action, over any thought, over any belief, over any appearance. I mean, things that I can't physically change, or things I could change and I chose not. Like, it was just constant. There was never a moment of relief or like satisfaction. And so I felt like one day I was like, I'm using this right hand and I am destroying myself. I am doing, kudos to you, Natasha. You were doing a fabulous job at ripping yourself to shreds for no absolute reason. And then one day I asked myself, I was like, but why are you doing this? Like, what did you do to deserve this form of corporal punishment? What did you do? Tell me. What was it? You were born? What did you do that was so deserving of this cruelty? And I looked and looked and searched my mind. I mean, I searched through everything. Well, okay, one time, I looked at somebody's paper in a class. No, that doesn't justify. Okay, yeah, you learned from that mistake. Like, hey, it didn't feel good. Like, first off, you got a worse grade than you would have on your own because that person wasn't the brightest bulb in the box, and you thought that they knew something better than you and you knew it all along. No, like, trust yourself. Like, you learn along those things, but it doesn't give myself the right. Yes, we make a mistake. Okay, that was a mistake. I, as a young kid, I looked in the other paper. I was feeling unconfident. I was like, my answer is different than your answer, and I must be wrong, and you must be right. So I'm going to erase mine and put yours. And then, nope, you were right all along, but you didn't trust in yourself. And, like, that's the punishment. The punishment is, okay, I learned. And that's not even a punishment. Like, that is a gift, right? And if you keep doing it over and over, you're punishing yourself, right? Like, when we have this knowledge and we apply it and say, no, next time, just trust yourself. Don't even take a glance. Don't even look, because just resist the temptation and trust who you are and trust what you have. If you fail on your own, you failed on your own, and then we'll learn from that thing. But if you succeed on your own, that's going to feel so much better than knowing Joe Blow over here is the one who actually got this grade. So I say all that to say is, like, I couldn't find a reason why I deserved this type of treatment. And so I said, okay, well, I have two choices here. I can either A, continue using my right hand, and boy, do I have a silver tongue. I can rip myself to shreds in an instant like that. I could start my day happy and delighted at seeing the rain. And before I could glance in the mirror and say about 10,000 cruel things, if I even had the courage to look at myself in the eyes. And now I just said, this is what we're going to do. We are going to use our left hand, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be messy. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. And you're going to want to instinctively just go back to using your right hand because it's so easy. You know it. It's comfortable. But I want you to know, like, the option to use your right hand, the option to be cruel and mean to yourself, it will always be there. You can pick that up anytime. But let's just try something different. What's the worst that happens? You like it? Great. You change the way you are. You don't like it? Go back to who you were. Rip yourself to shreds every day. Let's see how great that treats you. How good you feel after that. So I slowly began. And I remember, like, the process has been like it's been a long time. And so, like, my brain doesn't remember every single detail along the line. But like I've said before, I've always been intrigued by, all the self-help gurus, the Tony Robbins. Like, I grew up on that. And then my dad was he was a salesman. He was like a cheerleader when he was at his best, not an actual cheerleader, but like, he was a hype man, it was like, come on, and his energy was so infectious. Like, I just adored, and I just idolized this form of energy. And I witnessed, like, remember I said I was an observer, and I was thrust in a lot of situations a young child shouldn't be in, but I would be at, like, parties or any kind of event that he was at, and I would just see, like, how charismatic he was and how captivated people were by what he said, by his positivity, by his enthusiasm. And, like, I didn't know what he was selling, but I was ready to buy. Like, it didn't feel like dirty. Like, it just felt like he was just so happy and passionate about whatever this subject matter or topic he was. Like, it was like, okay, I'm a believer too. Like, I'm on board with you, you know? And I don't know if I was predisposed because I was his daughter, but this is like what I grew up on. And I continued to feel fascinations. You know, I remember going to the library and checking out books and just reading different books. Napoleon Hill, like, I mean, just at a very young age, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like anything for kind of betterment. So I don't even know what that genre is. Self-improvement or, you know, self-discovery. It is all a little bit of that. And I just don't know what the title of it's called. But I started to like really like, okay, be conscious about, hey, I have this free Libby app from my library. I'm just going to go in and, you know, see what audiobooks are. I love to dance and I love to sing out of tune, the wrong words in the car. That's my jam. You know, I will never give it up. And, but I was like driving a lot to go see my uncle, to help care for him, help care for my aunt. And I was like, you know, I have this thirst for knowledge. I have this thirst to improve and get better. And I loved having these philosophical and, you know, these kind of talks with my uncle. And so like, I like to like, it was like a form of doing my own research and my own learning. And then to be able to come back to him and say, hey, like, here's somebody I found that I thought was really cool. You know, what do you think? Like, listen to it. And after he passed, like their house became like hoarding. And so like I had no idea, like so many of the people that I was like, oh my gosh, you have to listen to this person. He had the darn not VHS tape, but the old like little tape that went into a tape recorder with the two little things. Cassette tape. Yeah. He had, you know, everybody since before, you know, that era or whatever, like he had them all. So he knew everything that I thought I was like Miss Intelligent, and he just kind of played along, or Miss, you know, over here, look who I found now. And maybe he had forgotten him. He did have a stroke and stuff. So like, it is possible he forgot, but he absolutely like humored me and re-listened to them. And, you know, we would like converse on that. And, you know, it was so much fun. And like still at that time, I was still so uncertain of myself and like still so focused on believing like my whole purpose was to be a mom, and my whole purpose was to be a wife, and my whole purpose was to support Chris in his business. And like, I just didn't have any individuality. And so it was like, I was often just like kind of pulled to like, where did I think I was needed most? Who like needed me the most? Like what was the catastrophe I was, you know, helping somebody with? And it often kind of left me like frazzled, and I was like very like reactive to things, although I was like showed up very well to them, but like to myself, I just wasn't sure. I just really wasn't sure who I was. I had, like I said, I had suppressed any of my own desires, my own wants, my own dreams, my own things so far down that I couldn't even find, like I literally physically needed to lose weight to start shedding and like finding who I was. And like I do some of the things I do now, even this work, like as part of my journey, as part of like healing my inner child, is like releasing the final trauma. Like I think that I truly believe like the final weight that like hasn't come off is, and I'm not worried about it if I stay this forever, but like I believe a part of it is like all this stored trauma that I have like not released. And like I feel like every time I make a breakthrough, it's so crazy because like I'll go to the gym and somebody will be like, you lost more weight. And like I said, I don't go on a scale, I don't measure myself, I don't have a freaking clue. But when somebody says something to me, it's like, to me, I'm like, I think it is true. Cause it's like, I just had this breakthrough. I've had this released. I've experienced this healing. Like I know how to behave in the future because of this experience. And it's like a physical release as well. It's not just the spiritual, the emotional, the mental. It is like this whole body experience. And so like, I just feel like for so long, like it started with me. Like regardless of what happened in my situations to get me to where it was, at a very, very young age, I took on a role I was not intended to, right? Like I didn't want to play mom. I didn't want to comfort like crying parents. I didn't want to try to, clean up the mess after the physical alterations. Like I didn't want to, like our house would be destroyed, like paperwork everywhere, pots and pans. I mean, it was just like a tornado had hit. And, like you hear screaming and yelling. And, I remember crawling in closets, and I had a little record player. And I think that's why music is so important to me. Like in all these like traumatic things, I can say like, I always kind of like went to like a music or a TV to kind of like drown out those noises and try to find a way to escape. And so like even in my car, I listen to the music loud, and or in my room, like, if I'm doing the like weight portion of my thing that I've just recently tried to integrate. Don't get all hyped up. It's like a series of like 2 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. But you know what? It is something, and everything I say, you start small. It's micro. I'm not going into, I'm not trying to be over here Miss Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything. I'm just, trying new things because that's what I do. But yeah, so it's like I listen to the music and it kind of like takes me away from whatever the thing is. But yeah, like crawling into a closet with my brother and like putting on the record player super loud and like trying to like joke and talk with him. So it was like I didn't hear what was going on out there, and then to have to like sneak out and be like, okay, stay here and let me go look, and then see like the craziness and not want my brother to see it. And you see a parent crying and one parent is gone and it's just chaos. And it's not about me or what I'm feeling. It's like, how do I comfort them? And and then one would think like, okay, my parents no longer live together, that's a relief. But again, like I said, that now suddenly your mom is no longer a part of your life and just gone. And you have a brother who's acting out, and you have a dad who is like, I don't know, 21 at this point. And I mean, that's a big undertaking. You're 21 years old. You didn't have the greatest upbringing yourself. And, your dad was an alcoholic. Your parents divorced. You were the youngest of 4. Your older siblings, one already had a child and married and divorced. Like they all had their own stuff going on too. And so like, and then he's alone, right? Like you have to worry about like kids in daycare and preschool and getting them to school and getting them home. I mean, I can't imagine. And this is in the 80s. It's not like, 2020 where, yeah, single dads are cool or anything. It was just like, what? Like, did your mom die? Like, it was so unheard of. And, the guy did the absolute best he could, but it doesn't mean that I still wasn't thrust into like really roles I didn't want to be in. And it doesn't mean that I wasn't at times just absolutely neglected. And it wasn't like that was the intent, but it doesn't negate the fact that like those things happened. And, and I think that I was in pain, and I heard so much hostility and pain around me that like it became acceptable to be abusive of myself. And then like even as I grew up and I got older, like the way my body grew was I grew pretty quick, and I would like get chubby and then grow and then get skinny. But like in those chubby stages, I would be like, my entire family would be like, oh, like watch out, this stuff. And oh gosh, you would be so much prettier if you would just lose some weight. And just just kind of not the nicest. And again, I don't think it was from a place of like being mean. It was just, this was how you talk to people in the 80s. Like, I don't know, like the intention, wasn't to hurt me, but the indirect result was it hurt me. And so it's like, if my family, if my dad, if my brother, if my uncles, if my aunties, if my grandma, like if they're saying something is wrong with me, well, I believe them. And so when I look at myself, I'm going to just see like this gargantuan monster. And then, so it was just cruel. So I would be mean to myself mentally and emotionally. And then, of course, I would take it out on myself physically. So, I think that it's just really hard sometimes, right? We don't even notice. Like it was such a habit to talk to myself in such a demeaning way that it just took this perfect instance for like one person to tell me when I was just in an open place, when it was just the stars in the world collide. Like sometimes you can hear something your whole life and it never makes sense. And then one day you're like, I got it. Like, thank you. Finally. I didn't even know I didn't get it at parts, but I get it now. And like one person who had nothing to do with me had just said, you deserve to be happy. And period. You deserve to be happy. 5 words. And on that day, I believed it. I absolutely believed it. And I was like, you know what? Today, I'm going to take a change. Take a change. I'm going to take a change and make a change. But I'm going to make a change. Something small. What is it that I can do to be kind to myself? That even if the external world is falling apart and wants to rip into me and wants to blame me for whatever, and maybe these things I did do, or maybe these things I am worth of blaming. Regardless, what is it I can do to be kind to me? And I want to say sometime after that, maybe it took a long time. I listened to a lot of different people, a lot of different books. I would hear certain things. I was like a hunter and gatherer. So I'd go out hunting. I'd find this material. I would listen to it. And like whatever resonated with me that day, I would like hold true. Like I would hold. And then I would store away the other stuff because maybe I would need it another day, or maybe somebody else, like it didn't apply to me, but like something else would come up in life and like it would apply to a friend or a colleague or, a stranger or something that like, I'm like, okay, it's still stored, but this is probably not going to apply to me. Maybe it will. I don't know. It just doesn't apply to me today. And I'm going to store it away. Or this other one I don't quite get, but maybe I'll get later on. So I, would like gather the information. I would store it away. I would share it with who I could. I would apply it to whatever I could in my life. And, the thing is about all this stuff is no matter which book you read, no matter which author, which sermon you listen to, which podcast, which guru, the truth is none of them are saying anything that is absolutely rocket scientist, like level stuff. It is all so basic, and it is all so easy if we just take ourselves out of it. Like we complicate it. We make it harder than what it is. Like we mess the stuff up. Like it doesn't have to be this hard. It really is so simple if we apply the theories. Like just try it. Like use your left hand. And if you don't like it, go back to your right hand. What do you have to lose? Like I tell my kids, okay, they like one son, he plays these video games and I'm like, just reach out to the gamers. Like reach out to them. Say, hey, you're a really good player. Like, how did you get this way? How did you ask them questions? Whatever your question is. And no, I'm not going to do this. No. 50 reasons why not. I'm like, what do you have to lose? Okay, you shoot an email. You wasted 5 minutes of your life composing an email. They didn't respond. Okay, so what? But what if they do respond? Like, you can learn something from the greatest. And, like, sometimes we just get in our way. We think, oh no, I can't reach out to this person because, I'm just Natasha from Pleasanton and they're not going to, no, who cares? I'm going to reach out. If you answer, great. If you don't answer, great. Like life will go on. A no is the same thing as a no answer. Like that's okay. Like I'm in no different spot than I am today. if I don't get an answer. And I'm not being rejected. It just means maybe you didn't have time to get to it. Maybe you got other things going on. And you can be persistent. You can be a stalker. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, it doesn't have to be stalking if you do it in a, like, you know, non-stalking way, right? I don't know. This is what my theory is. I'll have to test it, but to know for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. Like, for me, it's just like all about experiencing different things and experimenting with what works for you. And so, like, I am here doing this. I like my motivation to lose the weight, my motivation to stop the abuse of myself, my motivation to film all this is because I am a woman of integrity. I am a woman who says what she's going to do and she does it. And I'm going to be that lady who is in her, you know, very fabulous, you know, deathbed, you know, who's not going to be like, I had to wait and to get cancer in order to live. No, I am not just surviving anymore. Like, the goal here is, from here on out and from like a few years ago, is to not just survive, but it is to thrive. It is to live. It is to take those risks. It is to film the whatever this is. It is to write the whatever it is. It is to share whatever it is. It is to take whatever leaps that call you. Like, it is to apply for a job that I don't have the qualifications for, if that's what I want to do. It is to push myself out of the thing. It is to make friends with people that I typically wouldn't be friends with. It is to ask people questions. It is to share kindness. So, like, I get so wrapped up in it. I love it. And I just want to share it. And I just like, it's like, you just want to be like, I learned this. I just want to like give you the Cliff Note version about like, here's what you do and like how you can succeed. And like, there are days that are difficult. Like, yesterday was a challenging day for me, but because I've taken this time to sit in the pain and because I was able to kind of process it in a way that was healthy for me, I was able to wake up today feeling refreshed and alive and grateful for the experience, instead of in the past where it would have just continued and I would have woke up even lower and I would have said, and of course it's raining outside too. And now, I don't even want to go into there because I wanted to choose to be selective of my words. I've become very selective of my environment. I choose to not watch the news very often. I choose to throttle what kind of music I listen to. And there are times when I'm sad and I'm like, you know what? I want to listen to that sad music. But there's other times where I'm like, I'm in a really good mood and a sad song will come on, like that particular cut. And I'm like, not today. Like, I'm choosing today to not go down that road. I'm happy where I am today. We can go down that road tomorrow. We can heal that wound another time, or we can, reflect on that, but just not today. And, I'm selective. I don't watch too much TV, but like, I'm selective of what authors I listen to, because I do believe we are that, average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And it may not be physical time. It can be any time. Like, it could be the time that I spend on YouTube or this thing. Like, these things influence us. These things contribute to our health and well-being. Like, when I used to watch like scary shows, I would go to sleep. I'd have nightmares. It was a mess. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, this is not fun for me. You love them. Great. Have at it. Chris adores those things. It's just not healthy for me anymore personally. And so I choose not to do it. I choose to do things that make me feel good and like motivated and inspired. That's what fuels me. So like, I just suggest, like, I am just here saying, can you please, like, today, let's try like to do something kind to yourself. Like, whatever it may be. And now I'm like a glutton to being kind to myself. Like before, I didn't know what self-care was, and now I fully know the definition of it. Am I always doing what I would like to be in self-care? Yeah. No, I'm not. Okay. Because some of my self-care, if I had it in my mind, I'd be on a beach in Tahiti, and but there is a time and place for that. I am still a mom, and parenting my kids is still a top priority, and being here for them is of utmost importance, and most likely probably from my own trauma, around having not had my own mom around. But it is something I enjoy. I enjoy having the privilege of watching my youngest play soccer. I enjoy tonight, I cooked a dinner that my oldest son didn't like. And so I enjoyed watching him make his mac and cheese. And, it's a little thing, but like you see this human that like started from like not even being able to talk, and for his sake, even be able to eat on his own, or, have his heart properly work on its own, to this man who is standing in front of you and cooking his mac and cheese. And then I look at him, and I know I say this to him often, but it's almost like I'm saying it to him, and I'm like, when I was your age, I had you, and I was pregnant with your sister. And he was like, he's like, well, that sounds like you should have used some protection, Mom. And I'm like, touche. Maybe that's the case. But I'm like, I think about that a lot. And like it just gives me like a lot of perspective of like just how mature I had to be, because what are his responsibilities? Take out the trash every once in a while when Tyler can't, and unload the dishwasher and reload it, and whatever happens in his room, so I don't even know. And that's it. Like he is the opposite of me at 24. He has very little responsibilities, very little things counting on him. And, I'm happy for him. I think that's great. Like I am very happy for him, because the alternative is really hard. And I don't want that for my kids. If it happens, like great. But like, I am so glad that like he could, conserve a piece of his childhood and now, his adulthood, and be him, and without having all these additional responsibilities like a house, a mortgage, a husband, a child, another child, a sick child, So it's great for him. But I look at him and I'm like, man, I was a baby. Like I was a baby doing grown-up stuff, and I probably didn't want to at any point, but it was just kind of what happened. And I went along with the punches and the situations, and I made the absolute best out of every single one of them. And I think I did a pretty good job for everybody else. And I think that the key turning point here is being nice to myself. And so I say all this to say, one person one of the people I've listened to is Mel Robbins. Hi, Mel. But she has been amazing. So what resonated with me when I heard her first was that like the high five, right? The high five in the mirror. And so I run or walk, or first it was walking in my room, or downstairs or whatever, to like get the end of my steps, right? So like it's been the end of the day, or sometimes I'll do it early in the day to get it over with, and everything over is just a bonus. But I would do the steps, and there was a mirror in front of me, a full-length mirror, and I wouldn't look. And I happened to be hearing Mel Robbins. Like I would put on my YouTubes. And so like I had one YouTube channel that was like fitness stuff. I had one YouTube channel that was like finance and real estate and business and stocks and all these things, because I was really trying to learn that. But I found, and like economists and stuff, but I found that to end up being very depressing, because it was like when I was listening to that was like, it was just all freaking doom and gloom. And like, yeah, like some of them would be like, yeah, now's the best time because of this. And it was just like, I found myself getting very anxious and defeatist. And so I just was like, listen, I may not make a buck like I could if I would follow these principles, but I am 1000% making $1,000 or more a day on my mental health. Like it is okay. Like, I don't need to invest in the stock market. I don't need to have a vast real estate portfolio. It is okay. Like, I'm going to be okay. I might be better off without those things. And then I also had one, which was one that I listened to the most, especially as I was reprogramming my default settings to stop speaking cruelty into myself, was like, it was the ones that were like all the Jordan Peterson, like it was just all the self-help ones. So it was on YouTube's algorithm. I'd be on a sermon all of a sudden, or then Mel Rock, like it would just flop through, it'd be inspirational speeches at commencements or, whatever. And I just went down the rabbit hole. If somebody I didn't like, if I was like, I'm not feeling this thing, I would skip it. That's fine. But most of the time I just kind of let it go and let it play out. And that whole high five thing came on, and it was like, come on, that sounds so silly. I can't do this. Like, come on now, Mel, you would like this. I can do a lot of goofy things, but this seems like a stretch for me. But I was like, hey, try it. Worst comes to worst, go back and don't do it anymore if it doesn't work. And I don't do it religiously now. I don't ever really do it. But I did for a little while. And like what it gave me was such empowerment. So if you can try it, even for briefly, even if you don't integrate it in your daily life, but what it did was it forced me to like look at myself in the eyes and look at myself in the mirror. And like, I even went to the like degree of like, I'm going to do it before I get in the shower. So I'm going to strip down my robe and do it in the mirror. And then I'll do it again after. And like, it was just like, look at me. Look at me. Before you speak cruel to me, before you hurt me, I want you to look at this face. I want you to look into these eyes. Look into the soul of this person that you are harming. And I felt like I hadn't looked at myself in a sympathetic or compassionate way in so long. And I remember just busting into tears. And I was just like, oh my God, like, you are not this monster you have created yourself to be in your head. Like, you are kind, you are generous, you are loving, you are caring, like, you are compassionate and empathetic, and you are funny, and you have really pretty green eyes. And I just started like saying things, and like, you have like an amazing sense of grit. Like, you can be in a lot of pain, and when your body is saying no, your mind is saying, hell yeah, let's keep going. Like, your tolerance is incredible. Your intentions are so lovely. So I just started saying kind things to myself. And then when I started running, I said, nope, you have to run in front of the mirror. Or first it was walk, and then eventually it was jog. I mean, it's not like it's its own thing. Okay. It works for me, and maybe it'll work for you. Try it. I don't know. But like, I would run, and I look at myself all the time now, and it's not like, hey, but like sometimes it's like, hey, yeah, you're looking good, or, keep it up, or, dang, this hair is a hot mess, but it's fine. Like, it's like in a fun way. Like, there is no shade thrown anymore. Like, there is nothing. Like, I can't even believe I say this. Like, I feel so much pride and happiness when I look at myself in the mirror when I'm running. Like, I'm not judging myself. I'm not saying your stride needs to be bigger. You need to lift your leg up. Why is it? None of that. None of that. It is just genuine love. It is like looking at one of my kids is what it is. It's like that. Oh my God. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, it is just, but it's taken me a long time to get there. It was a lot of little steps, and it's a lot of self-correction, because, even just because I decide like, oh, hey, I'm going to be really nice to myself, that doesn't mean that the execution goes without flaw. No. Yeah, there are a lot of days that I was still cruel, and there are probably days that I still will fall back and be cruel or say something mean, but I'm catching myself now. And I'm like, wait. No. We don't do that anymore. Remember, we use our left hand. And, the goal here is to find the balance. So it's like we do one thing one way, I hyper vigilantly become the other way, and then we kind of settle in somewhere in the middle. So it's like with the high fives, like it didn't work in part of my day-to-day thing in the way that she had instructed we do it, but I think it's a lovely exercise. Like I 10 out of 10 recommend it. And what it opened up for me and what resonated with me was how I adapted to me. And that's what it is. It's like you hear these things and you kind of play with it in your own way and say, what works for me? Well, putting my hand on my mirror doesn't work for me, Dad. I don't want to Windex it every day. Like I don't want to see the handprint, like whatever it is, like, and I could just pretend and all that stuff, but it just didn't work for me, but it did work for a while. And that's what mattered. Like that's what mattered the most. And it taught me to be able to look myself in the mirror. And it taught me so much so that I can come on here without any makeup, without my hair done. Sometimes it's in a ponytail. Sometimes it's, a lot of times it's just after a workout. So it's sweaty and curly or straight or whatever it is. And I just simply don't care. Because like I said, I have trolled myself enough in the past, and I have worked really hard to change all the trolling into love. And there is nothing anybody else can say that I haven't said to myself that was meant to harm me. And that's what it is. And so I just encourage you to find time in your day to figure out, where are there places that you are abusing yourself, and where can you be kinder? And it's so crazy because once you realize that, and I think that this is the problem with me with Chris, is what I came to, was my tolerance for abuse has become a non-negotiable. I don't tolerate abuse from myself anymore. And I don't tolerate abuse from strangers anymore. I don't tolerate abuse from my family anymore or friends. And so why is it I tolerate abuse from this person whom I committed my life to when I was a 22-year-old child, who promised to protect me, who promised to, be there in my sickness. And I say this to say, I know why he abuses me. And that's the word I'm going to use, because that's what it feels like to me. And that's my experience. But I know why. It's because he's hurting, right? He is in pain. He has his own things. And for less of a better words, he doesn't know how to communicate in a way with me when he has flooded feelings or emotions or whatever pain he is in. And I'm sad for that. And I'm very sympathetic, and I understand who he is because I know his stories. So I know that he doesn't want to hurt me per se, but he hurts so much that he does anyways. And I know he is remorseful when he does, but it doesn't take it away. And it doesn't mean that, and this is where I struggle, it doesn't mean that that is how I should be treated. And I am really working hard at understanding boundaries. What are they in the first place? Creating them and saying, I just cannot tolerate abuse anymore. And then enforcing them. And so it's hard because there's changes that happen within me, but I'm also counting on changes with somebody else. And what happens if those changes don't happen, because I don't want anyone to change for me. Like, I don't want him to change for me, but I also don't want to, you know, be spoken to in a certain way, or huffed at, or have doors slammed at me, or ignored. They're just things that don't align with who I am and who I'm working really hard to be, and the behaviors that I want to be sharing with the world. And so it's a difficult, like, realization. Like this morning, like I said, I was like, but now I get it. I get the reason why I'm so, like, vigilant and protective, like, of myself when I feel attacked. And it's just because I had attacked myself for so long, and I don't tolerate it from myself. And so I don't want to tolerate it from anybody else. And when somebody else abuses me, or they say things to me, I have to, like, look at it, because I'm a very, like, honest person, you know, like, I will be honest with myself, and I'm accountable, and be like, well, is it true what this person is saying? You know, am I doing these things? Is there room for improvement? You know, do I want to improve in these ways? They may not like this particular part of my personality, or they may not like this behavior of mine, but do I like it? Just because they don't like it, it doesn't mean I don't have to change. I have to change it. And in the past, I did believe, like, oh, you don't like if I laugh too loud, I won't laugh too loud anymore. Or you don't like it when I sing, then I won't do that anymore. Oh, you don't like it when I talk to other people, I won't do that anymore. You don't like when I talk to men, I won't do that anymore. You don't like when I, you know, don't have dinner ready when you get home, I won't do that. You know, and it was just like a very, like, fear-based, like, I'm observant, I see what you like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm observant, I see what you don't like, okay, I'm going to do that. Without really checking in with me and say, well, honestly, I don't like to cook. It's, truth be told, I'm a great cook. I cook some amazing dishes. I'm sick of them all. All of them. You know, I've cooked dozens and dozens and dozens of times in my life. I've tried new things. I just particularly, I don't like to cook. I just, you know, would love to have, you know, a lovely meal just miraculously appear in front of my eyes. And, you know, I don't want to go shop for it. I don't want to cook it. I don't want to put the groceries away. I don't want to clean it afterwards. I don't want to think about it. And, you know, it is just part of my job. But, like, yeah, I had to, like, you know, be like, I'm not cooking every day anymore. Like, I'm not a chef. I never, ever wanted to be a chef. Power to the chefs out there in the world. Like, hats off to you. I'm glad you found your passion. It's not mine. You can keep it. But yeah, like, so I think, like, getting honest and being like, I don't like to cook. And just because I'm a mom, it didn't, like, all of a sudden put a chef hat on my head and the shopping cart in my hands. Like, it is not in the job description. And I know it has seemed like it is, but, you know, we're not all 5 years old here anymore. Like, and every meal doesn't have to be a 10. Some meals, they're probably going to be a 3. You know, like, I just, you know, I'm okay with having a salad for dinner. I'm okay with having sandwich for dinner. I'm okay with, you know, having chicken and pasta or chicken and rice, like, veggies. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, and if you're not, have at it. I have a plethora of food in there that you can cook up. Hey, if you want to cook, I will sit back and eat your meal. You know, like I said, I had so much enjoyment just watching my son make mac and cheese. I was like, good for you. And he was such a doll. Like, he's been making these things, like, he calls them devious grilled cheeses. And, like, I haven't had a grilled cheese in years, but he makes these suckers look so good. So one day I was like, are you making a grilled cheese? And he was like, no, I'm not making one. I was like, I have been craving for the last few days. You've made these things look and smell so good. Will you make me one? And he's like, it was so sweet to me because He wasn't going to make himself one. He ended up not making himself one. He just made me a dang grilled cheese, and it was pretty devious. It was pretty good. He like doctored up the bread, and you know, it was super cheesy, and I think it just tastes even better because he made it for me. Like, it was amazing. So I was super grateful for that. Like, you know, it went on my in my gratitude jar, and you know, I appreciated that. Like, that was such a kind little act of kindness for me, and like, you filled my belly and my soul all in one. So thank you, Brad, for my devious grilled cheese. I will never forget that. But yeah, so be kind, like, be nice. Remember, I told that lady, be nice. But just be nice to yourself. Like, I'm telling you, if we're just nice to ourselves, like, by default, we will start to become nice to others, and like, we will see more good in the world. But it really does start with us. Like, the happiness we seek, it's in us. The love we seek, it's in us. The healing we seek, it's in us. And I know we like to like look for these external things. It's so much easier if somebody makes me a damn grilled cheese and I don't have to do it myself. But like, sometimes we really have to sit down and like do a let's be honest. And I think that so many of us like don't like being in pain, and so we choose not to do these painful exercises. And you know, or it's like when the tough gets going, the going gets tough, like, or whatever gets right, we go away. Like, I don't know how to say that saying, but like, I just think that it has been so helpful in my life. And so if it helps you, great. If it doesn't help you, great. But try it out. So like, if there's something else, and if you're not ready to be like, I am still want to be abusive to myself, have at it. Enjoy. It's your life. But if there's anything else that you're doing on default that you don't like, you know, what can I say? Like, you know, drinking too much coffee, or, you know, you're using your right hand. So I just use that, like, okay, today I'm going to use my left hand. I'm going to try this, and whatever this is, you know, like, okay, it's going to be painful. It's going to be messy. It's going to look a little ugly, but eventually, with enough practice and enough consistency, it will be just as good as using my right hand, if not better. And then we have the choice, like with the Mel Robbins exercise. We then have the ability, we've mastered it. We can do this, and we can do this. And we are at the crossroads where we can choose. And the beautiful spot, the Goldilocks spot here in the middle, is being ambidextrous and being able to pick and choose, when is it I need to use this tool, and when is it I need to use this? And being comfortable to intertwine and interchange how we use them to make forward progress in our life. It's a beautiful darn thing. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to go finally take my shower. It's probably, yep, it's already 12 p.m. So this is technically the next day. So, I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and it was so much fun chatting with you. Mwah. Bye.